After saving Xiao from the fire, my legitimate elder sister locked me in the great fire to silence me. With my face completely ruined, I bore the infamy of plotting to harm my legitimate elder sister and seducing the heir apparent. The world cursed me, saying ugly people love to cause trouble. My legitimate elder sister said I was shameless. Even my father forced me to marry the one-eyed horse groom on our manor to preserve the family's reputation. I asked Shi Jiao, who just stood by and watched. I saved you. Do I deserve an end like this? He replied coldly. Save you? I haven't even punished you for the crime of disturbing my meeting with a Yao yet. My heart was like dead ashes, and on the day of their wedding, I took them down with me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day of the great fire. This time, I locked the courtyard gate, letting the fire burn a little more fiercely. Second miss. Fangfei courtyard is on fire. The young master is trapped inside. You have to think of a way quickly. From the panicked look on Kui Yanyao's maid's face, I realized I had been reborn, and I was reborn on the day the young Lord Xiaojiao was trapped in the great fire. On this day in my past life, urged by Kui Ju, I recklessly rushed into the fire scene. In the great fire, I found the figure pinned down by a broken roof beam. Shi Yai, save me. Yi Zhao's gaze was scorching. When he looked at me, it was as if seeing a deity descend, full of passionate hope. Although the fire was raging, my love for him overcame my fear of death. I disregarded everything and rushed into the fire, moved the roof beam aside, and rescued Xie Zhao. But I was hit on the back by a window that suddenly fell. The first thing Xie Zhao did after escaping the danger wasn't to save me, but to run to the water vat and pull out my eldest sister. The two of them scrambled and crawled their way out of the fire. Just when I thought Xie Zhao would come save me, my eldest sister locked the door. If people find out you and I were having a private rendezvous and got trapped in a fire, our reputations would be a small matter. But where would that leave our family's honor? I screamed my lungs out, but couldn't call back Shi Jiao, who was being dragged away by my eldest sister. Thick smoke billowed, and the fierce fire burned my skin. I desperately struggled to break free, but that locked door blocked my path to survival. Unable to hold on any longer, I finally passed out. When I woke up again, my face was completely ruined, and my body was covered in injuries. For a rare moment when my father looked at me, there was a hint of pity in his eyes. Your sister and the Shizi were seen when they rushed out of the fire. A noble family's reputation is so important, so you'll just have to do the hard thing and take the blame. I was branded with the infamy of failing to seduce the Shizi and setting my eldest sister on fire, and Shi Jiao became the hero who saved my eldest sister from the fire and water. In the face of life and death, with the Shizi playing the hero saving the beauty, their love was elevated to a new level. I was the one who failed to harm others, ruined myself, and got what I deserved, locked away in a sunless backyard. I was also ridiculed and mocked by the daughters of other noble families who came to see me. So ugly, like a maggot, it is disgusting. Ugly people are always causing trouble. That is how she brought this on herself. My eldest sister pretended to speak up for me, but in reality, she was pushing me into an abyss from which I could never recover. Don't blame Shiyi, she just loves a Zhao too much. That is all. It is not a crime to admire someone. Saying this, she led the crowd into my former courtyard, where the bedroom was piled high with my secret, yet blatant affections for Shi Jiao. The crowd's mockery grew even worse, and they even ridiculed my deceased concubine mother. As expected of a girl born to a bed-climbing concubine, she is utterly shameless to the bone. My legal mother couldn't bear to see me suffer such humiliation, and suggested to my father that I be married off far away to find some peace. With a wave of his hand, my father left everything to my legal mother. And so, I was betrothed to the nearly 50-year-old one-eyed horse groom on the estate. Tears streaming down my face, I questioned Xie Zhao, who had never once spoken up for me. Is this the end I deserve for the grace of saving your life? He turned his head away in annoyance. What else? Latch on to me with that ugly face of yours. I am already tormented by my conscience. unable to find peace day or night. What more do you want? Besides, if you hadn't set the fire, why would it be you, of all people, who desperately came to save me? The only reason I haven't punished you for the crime of disrupting my meeting with a Yao is out of consideration for you being a Yao's younger sister. My heart felt as if it had plunged into an ice cellar, a chill spreading through my limbs, and even my voice trembled. In that case, can you invite me to your wedding banquet? Consider it as repaying the grace of me saving your life. He glanced at me faintly. Attending my wedding means you've married me. You are truly disgusting. Fine, just consider it an act of my great kindness to fulfill your filthy desires. On my wedding day, I bribed a maid in the backyard to put a large amount of sleeping potion in the wedding wine. When everyone from both the Shia and Kui families had collapsed unconscious on the ground, I, with my broken body, set a fire to perish together with them all. I just never expected that I could come back. When my father in the front courtyard led a large contingent of family servants towards Fangfei Courtyard, I was already in the back garden. I happened upon Madame Yu, who had fallen on the ground and was gasping heavily. She was choking on phlegm, and her face was flushed red from the lack of air. Relying on the medical skills I learned in my past life from treating Shi Zhao's burns and relieving my own pain, I couldn't care about anything else, pushed aside the anxious crowd, and quickly rushed to the old madam's side. Amidst the crowd's gasps of shock, I put my mouth to hers and forcefully sucked out the phlegm. As a healer, saving lives is paramount. Everything else is secondary. The disgust in the eyes of others eventually turned into gratitude and admiration from the old Madame Yu after she regained consciousness. She asked for my name, my birth order, my age, and if I was married, with my head lowered, under the obscure gaze of my official mother. I obediently answered each question. Seeing that I was gentle and obedient, and also unmarried, the old madam was very pleased. She immediately took off the jade bracelet from her wrist and insisted on putting it on my hand. Good girl, you are truly a good girl. She had taken a liking to me. My legal mother was willing to use a concubine's daughter to secure a greater future for both the Kui and Su families. So, she also tacitly agreed. Marrying into the noble Yu family was the future I demanded. The Yu family of the capital, with generations of high officials, was unspeakably noble, an existence that neither the Kui nor the Shen family dared to provoke. This was different from the widowed county magistrate, the lecherous wealthy merchant, or being a concubine to a high-ranking family that my legal mother had picked out for me. As a concubine's daughter with no foundation, to survive within these high walls, and to live well, I had to climb up step by step, climbing to a position where my father couldn't touch me and my legal mother couldn't do anything to me. That would be my true rebirth. But how could a prestigious noble family want a concubine's daughter? If there was a life-saving grace, it would be a completely different matter. In my past life, old Madame Yu was saved by the family physician when she was choking on phlegm, but she also took a liking to Lin Yuer, the only daughter of a 7th-rank Hanlin Academy compiler, that very night. That Lin Yuer was gentle and well-behaved, soft-hearted and innocent, yet she married the Yu family's dissolute, hedonistic fop. Right after the wedding, she fell ill from Yu Mingyang's abuse, and never recovered. And within half a year she died coughing up blood when his mistress gave birth. She was a truly good girl. When my face was disfigured and I was bullied by the young ladies and noble madams of the capital, she was willing to speak up for me, sharing the pastries her mother made for her with me. The people of this world are shallow. All they ever look at is a stinking bag of skin. But Miss Kui, I've seen your handwriting, shows unyielding integrity, and is extremely well written. I believe you would never commit arson to harm someone, beyond your physical appearance. You also have your character, and that is the most important thing. She briefly healed the wounds of my low self-esteem and cowardice, and also became the sole guest of honor in my rear courtyard. In my art box, many of the calligraphy and paintings were gifts from her. There was also pain-relieving medicine and letters to pass the time. They kept me company for over a year in her stead. On the day she got married, I was afraid my ugly face would cause her trouble. so I didn't go to add to her dowry. I only sent a letter, promising to forge a longevity lock for her child as an apology. But when she died, my jewelry box had been thrown into a well by my legal older sister, and I no longer had a gold lock to give her. But among her belongings, she left a handmade pearl hairpin for me. Latter having nothing, I would just sit listlessly day after day, accompanied by a single hairpin, growing more and more lonely and deathly still. In the end, with a heart that sought death, I perished together with Shi Jiao. In this life, if I and Shi Jiao stop here, then it will be difficult for my path to cross with his cousin, Lin Yuer. Again, but I still have to save her, my only good friend. As for those debauched playboys, of course, it takes a villain to deal with a villain. Madam, this is bad, the master said. The second miss was caught in a fire. She was just carried back to the courtyard. Everyone was startled, and unconsciously, all eyes fell on me. The second miss. In full public view, the mangled young Lord Shizi was rescued from the fire, and the young lady of the manor was fished out of the water vat. There was no escaping the ruin of her reputation. Biased as he was, father immediately blocked Kui Yunyao's face, but loudly shouted my name. The whole bucket of shit for having a secret tryst, getting trapped in a fire, and implicating the young Lord Shizi, who had his legs broken by a beam and his back burned, was dumped on my head, the daughter of a concubine. The reputations of the Kui and Su families were, of course, saved. But what would be waiting for me? Because I have no one to back me, with my reputation ruined, and the young Lord Shizi injured, my fate is surely to be eternal damnation, to die without a burial place. Unfortunately, for all his scheming, father never calculated that I would show up at the banquet, and I just so happened to save old Madame Yu, and was chosen by her to be her grandson's fiancée. My older sister and I do look a bit alike. It is understandable that father mistook me for her. Father's scheme didn't succeed. Instead, I nailed Kui Yunyao to the pillar of shame. He was uncontrollably furious and smashed a bowl of tea on my head. Why didn't you go to the fire at the abandoned courtyard? Ayao's people came to you at the first opportunity, for the sake of your sister's reputation and the young Lord Shizi's life. You shouldn't have just stood by and done nothing. Looking at father, whose eyes were red with anger, I took the blow from that tea bowl head on, and then, in my disheveled state, said with feigned grievance, Huiju never said that older sister was also trapped in the fire. If I had known she was also in Fangfei courtyard, I would have rushed in to save her even if it cost me my life. But the Shizi is an outside man, and father values reputation and decency above all else. For the sake of our household's reputation, I absolutely couldn't go and save him by myself. Who would have thought that when I went to ask mother for help, I'd find old Madame Yu choking on phlegm. Father was still in the deserted courtyard, but old Madame Yu's life was hanging by a thread. If it were you, father, between the Shizi getting injured and old Madame Yu dying, how would you choose? Father's expression stiffened. The Yu family and the Shi family were both noble houses he could not afford to offend. The extent of the Shizi's injuries was still uncertain. But if old Madame Yu died in our backyard without receiving timely treatment under everyone's watchful eyes, it would mean our household was remiss in its hospitality. Since we invited old Madame Yu, who was known to wheeze and cough incessantly, we should have had a specialized household physician on standby. It was legitimate mother's negligence and Kui Yunyao's nonsense. What does it have to do with me? Father let out a heavy sigh. It is your good fortune to be able to connect with a family like the Yus, but since your surname is Ku, I don't forget that you are tied to the Kui family. Father didn't pursue the matter further, but legitimate mother refused to let me off the hook. She utterly hated me for taking matters into my own hands and ruining Kui Yunyao's reputation and future prospects, and punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall to copy texts. But the news that Shi Jiao's legs were broken, and he would be crippled for the rest of his life, still slipped through the cracks in the wall and reached my ears. Kui Yunyao, having caught a cold, never left the back courtyard, but in the eyes of the Xie family, it was her avoidance and shirking of Shi Jiao's pain. The Marquise's residents hated the Kui family to the bone. Even Xie Zhao's aunt, now consort in the palace, summoned my legal mother for a whole day of tea. It is said that when my legal mother returned to the residence, her legs were trembling so much she could barely stand steady. Presumably, she had knelt for long enough, having no choice. My legal mother took the still unrecovered Kui Yunyao to visit Xie Zhao every day, showing the utmost sincerity. But the domineering mother Xie and the harsh younger sister Xie did not accept it. The ridicule, humiliation, and cold violence inflicted on me in my past life were now all given to Kui Yunyao. Kui Yunyao, who had been coddled in the palm of one's hand her whole life, had never suffered such humiliation, and after returning to the residence, she clung to her legal mother and cried endlessly, "You want me to marry a disfigured cripple? I don't want to. Did you see, mother? The scar on Xie Zhao's face is so horrifying. I am afraid I'll have nightmares every night, just from one look." I was wrong. I was really wrong. Father dotes on Ah Yao the most. Please think of a way for Ah Yao. The love that was once like vows to the mountains and seas could, in fact, vanish into nothingness over a disfigured face. I sneered endlessly in my heart, but I just stayed in my own courtyard, burying my head in making shoes, socks, and clothes for old Madame Yu. Father was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. And even because of my "it is none of my business" look, he threw my sewing basket. If you have this much leisure to make these useless things, you might as well think of a solution for your older sister. I picked up the garment with the 100 longevity pattern from the floor and gently dusted off the dirt on it. The heir apparent loves older sister. How could he be willing to ruin her? If he is willing to not hold it against older sister, no matter how resentful the Xie family is, they would absolutely not pursue the matter further. Manipulating him. Older sister has always been good at that. Father was still reluctant to let go of the Xie family's power and influence, and was still hesitating. Legitimate mother, however, made the final decision. With my Su family around, she can marry into the imperial family or relatives of the emperor. The insignificant Xie family is nothing. Legitimate mother wasn't wrong. Her younger sister, consort Su, was currently in high favor with the emperor. It wouldn't be difficult to request an imperial marriage decree for Kui Yunyao, but the prerequisite was that the Kui and Xie families break off the engagement amicably. Legitimate mother rewarded me with a handful of silver melon seeds. Tomorrow, you will accompany Ah Yao to the Xie family residence. It was clearly me who was helping her, yet she wanted to harm me. But it doesn't matter. Her blade will ultimately stab her own daughter. Legitimate mother left us a chance to be alone, inviting the Xie family members to the lakeside pavilion for tea. The look she gave Kui Yunyao as she left was all seen by me. She still didn't know what kind of consequences her own brilliant scheme would cause. On the sickbed, Xie Zhao lay prone like a silkworm chrysalis, his 2 long legs bandaged up like buckets, wretched and haggard. His back, furthermore, had been scorched by the fire from the wooden window, his skin split and flesh gaping. Looking at that face, once praised by everyone in the capital as incomparably dashing, now it was mangled beyond recognition, leaving only a hideous appearance. I hid behind Kui Yunyao with only a cold sneer. "Ah Zhao, are you feeling any better?" Kui Yunyao didn't forget her purpose for today and started wiping her tears delicately. "It is all my fault. If I had been a bit braver and shielded your lordship, perhaps your lordship wouldn't be in this state today." Although Xie Zhao had lost his former good temper, he still spoke gently to Kui Yunyao. "You are talking nonsense. How could I bear to let you suffer such pain? I'd rather have my heart dug out. Ah Yao, as long as your heart for me never changes, I can endure this bit of injury." Kui Yunyao's hand, clutching the handkerchief, stiffened, and then she cried even harder. But my reputation is ruined, and my father already despises me. How could I be worthy of your lordship? You must not say things like throwing me into a wok of boiling oil again. You don't know what people outside are saying about me, or how your mother and sister look down on me. I feel that life is worse than death." She changed the subject, taking aim at me. "Also a daughter of the Kui family. Shi is different. The minister's manor is indebted to her, and she is a good girl praised by everyone in the capital. Besides, her feelings for the heir apparent are no less than mine. A Zhao for the dignity of our two families. We absolutely cannot admit to our secret rendezvous. Zi Zhao's face was deathly pale, looking at Kui Yunyao, who was crying so hard she could barely breathe. He found himself unable to say a single word, in the end. Kui Yunyao had underestimated Xie Zhao's love for her. The reason why Xie Zhao's mother and sister hated Kui Yunyao to the bone was that after Xie Zhao found out his face was disfigured, he wanted to break off his engagement with Kui Yunyao. He didn't want the person he loved to become a laughingstock in the mouths of others. His pride and self-esteem would not allow him to present such an ugly appearance before the one he loved, day after day. It is just that he ultimately overestimated the person he loved. The father schemed for power, the legitimate mother schemed for profit, and Kui Yunyao just wanted to marry into a powerful family. None of them could see that the feelings beyond their schemes were the most precious. What a pity. Zhao only realized today that his 10 years of deep affection had been thrown to the dogs. I'll go get a bowl of medicine for the heir apparent. Sister, you can learn to change the dressing on his back today. Kui Yunyao ran off as if she were fleeing. Zi Zhao's face was ashen as he stared blankly after Kui Yunyao. As if unable to accept it, even his hands were trembling. He looked completely broken and pitiful, stirring one's heart with pain, but I had no intention of letting go of this good opportunity to rub salt in the wound. Stop looking, she finally managed to run away. Why would she come back? Zi Zhao glared at me viciously, like a stubborn and fierce wolf. You forced her, didn't you? Ayao was right. You are just a shameless dog. Give you a couple of bones and you latch on to me. Let me tell you, being nice to you was all an act. Ayao liked to mess with you, like you were a dog. So to make her happy, I would specifically walk you, a toad lusting after swan meat. But I'll make it happen for you. When my leg heals and I marry Ayao, I'll marry you off to a stable hand on the estate, fulfilling your ambition to marry up into the Xia family, and let you. But your leg can't be healed. Doesn't the young master know? I bit down my hatred, and as if unintentionally, I exposed the secret everyone was hiding from Xiao right to his face, walked me like a dog. Did you never think you'd be bitten back by that dog? Even though you've lost feeling, if the young master just looks back, you'll surely see that the lower half of your leg, below the knee, is gone. The young master can't possibly not know that he is crippled, right? He suddenly turned around, ignoring the pain in his back, desperately reaching for his leg. He reached with difficulty and in a pathetic state, but he still couldn't see anything. I kindly lifted the blanket, revealing the empty lower half. See, I wasn't lying to you. It was as if, in an instant, 10,000 sharp arrows pierced through his chest, causing Shen Zhao's pupils to dilate in pain, his body trembling like a sieve. I continued, you say I forced my sister, but since we were kids, have you ever seen anyone who could force her? Who would want to marry a damn cripple with a scarred face and a useless leg? I am not stupid. Zi Zhao couldn't accept it, whimpering and roaring, weakly beating the pillow, as if he were mad, as if he were crazed. Oh, I am sorry. I shouldn't have rubbed salt in the young master's wound. I sneered, watching with wide eyes as Xie Zhao, who was about to hit me, fell from the bed to the floor. As he struggled and crawled, bright red blood oozed from his wound. I went to help him up, but instead pressed my hand firmly on his wound. Carrying the hatred from my past and present lives, the force was naturally immense, and in an instant, his wound was dripping with fresh blood. Let go, it hurts. I let go, switched to another wound, and continued to squeeze. Amidst the immense pain and his howling, blood seeped from the wound again, mixed with the foul stench of urine from his lower body. I covered my nose with a handkerchief and said with disgust, no way did the young master wet his pants. And no, it is not. Shi, listen to me. Come, the young master has fallen. Ignoring his panic and pleas, I shouted desperately. Summon, quick, someone. In just a moment, the small room was crowded with servants. His high and mighty pride was crushed to smithereens as he rolled on the urine-soaked floor. While the servants were preparing the medicine, I feigned regret and sighed. The poor heir apparent was left with a lifelong disability because of his deep affection. Yet my older sister is using the spring banquet to catch the young prince's eye, intending to marry into the princess's mansion to become a respectable concubine. How could you? Smack. A medicine bowl smashed against my forehead. Get out. Get the hell out. Amidst Shi Zhao's fury, I bit my lip in bewilderment, clutching the bleeding wound as I rushed to the lakeside pavilion, crying my heart out. His lordship doesn't want me. He only wants my older sister. Everyone's face turned pale. The Xia family instantly understood the Kui family's plan of substitution and were furious. Madame Xia gritted her teeth and said to Kui Yunyao, "The Marquise's residence will never forget the great kindness of the Kui family's eldest young miss." Kui Yunyao's legs went weak with fear, and she had to be carried back to her residence by the servants. Although my legal mother hated me for being a disappointment, she didn't dare to touch me again, because when I returned to the residence with the wound, young Master Yu came to visit me with lavish gifts. Before I left the residence, I had a servant deliver clothes. I personally made to old Madame Yu. Old Madame Yu is a woman of propriety, and would definitely arrange for someone to send a gift in return immediately. Thus, under the deterrence of the Yu family, I was able to make a clean getaway. I just didn't expect the person who came to be my fiancé, Yu Ming Yang, as the fiancé arranged by our parents. He was using this opportunity to see what I looked like. If my appearance and virtues did not please him, he had thousands of ways to prevent me from ever entering the Yu family's gates. With my eyes brimming with aggrieved tears, I exposed my slender and fair neck, looking at him shyly, timidly, and utterly wronged. "Thank you, young master. This is the scented sachet I made for you. I hope you won't dislike it." I deliberately brushed my long fingers across the back of his hand, raising a layer of goosebumps, and his bones instantly turned to jelly. If we weren't at my Kui family home, he would have brought out that shameless, forceful energy and forced himself on me, just as he had on countless common girls. "Shi Yi, don't be afraid. Since I am your fiancé, I will naturally back you up. The Yu family may not be as powerful as the Marquise's estate, but we are not a ball of dough to be needed by anyone." He ran to the study to cause a huge scene with my father. For the shameless deeds done by the legitimate daughter, there is no reason to make a concubine's daughter take the fall. Besides, Shi Yi is my fiancée. How can she be casually swapped out for someone else? "Lord Kuai, are you looking down on my Yu family? Humiliating me like this? I'll go back and ask my grandfather if the Yu family has declined to the point where anyone can trample on us." My father is a refined man, and had no way to get entangled with a scoundrel, so after apologizing nicely, he even compensated him with a set of the 4 treasures of the study. Having suffered a double loss, my father, filled with rage, punished Kui Yunyao by making her copy books, and also punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall, warning me not to tell the Yu family about everything. I agreed readily on the surface, but as soon as I turned around, I sent a letter to my dear fiancé. That very day, Yu Mingyang came to see me with a box of pastries, forcing my father to hastily release me from the ancestral hall, send me properly back to my courtyard, and even compensate with 2 multicolored glazed vases. Yu Mingyang said goodbye to me with a burning gaze. "I'll pop in to see you from time to time, so if you do anything bad, I'll find out, you know." My father was displeased, but he no longer dared to punish me casually. But he still hadn't given up on the idea of breaking off the engagement with Shi Zhao. He spared no expense to hire someone to teach Kui Yunyao the dance of the rainbow skirt and feathered dress, intending for her to shine at the spring banquet and win over the young prince who was looking for a secondary consort. But he didn't know that this very act would cut off all of Kui Yunyao's future options. At the spring banquet hosted by the princess, I was just a supporting role, only responsible for playing the zither for Kui Yunyao. Dressed in light gauze, she performed the dance of the rainbow skirt and feathered dress with an ethereal and graceful air, becoming the focus of everyone's attention. Naturally, my fiancé, who was practically drooling, was no exception. But when his eyes met my expression of biting my lip, on the verge of tears, but holding them back, he quickly sat up straight and proper. After the song and dance performance, he handed me a box of exquisite pastries. I saved these, especially for you. Give them a try. I covered my face with my sleeve, pretending to put one in my mouth, but secretly tucked it into my other sleeve. He looked on excitedly. I'll take you on a boat ride on the lake later. The scenery from the boat is wonderful, you'll like it. I nodded shyly and timidly, and he got so excited his jaw dropped. When Kui Yunyao saw how devoted Yu Mingyang was to me, she hated it so much she gritted her teeth. This further strengthened her resolve not to lose to me. After the evening banquet, she went to the back courtyard on the pretext of changing her clothes, but accidentally barged into the little prince's study. Though shy, she was bold. She and the little prince chatted about everything from the dance of the rainbow skirt and feathered robe to the 3 obediences and 4 virtues, and then to matters of family, state, and the world. They hit it off splendidly. Of course, I knew it was all taught to her by father, word by word, according to the little prince's preferences. How could the little prince not see through her intentions? As the conversation peaked, he asked her, "Eldest Miss Kui, I feel a sense of regret that we didn't meet sooner. I've heard that you and the Xia family's heir are in love. Now that the heir is injured, could it be that eldest Miss Kui has begun to feel disdain for him?" Kyunyao covered her face with a handkerchief, her eyes turning red. What woman in this world doesn't like a handsome and talented young man? He has ruined his legs and disfigured his face. I am afraid I'd have nightmares just from seeing him. But he insists on being repaid for a favor, just because he gave me a wet piece of clothing during the fire. He is trying to force me into marriage. That ugly monster with a black heart and hideous face only makes me feel terrified. The little prince nodded. So, eldest Miss Kui is unwilling to marry Shizi Shi. Kui Yunyao glanced at the young prince with a blush. If I were to marry, it should be to a man of talent like the prince, skilled in both civil and martial arts. Even being a servant or a concubine would be better than being a personal maid to a cripple. I looked at the grim-faced Xie Zhao in the wheelchair beside me, and at Mother Shi and Shi Xingye, whose eyes were bloodshot with hatred, and I felt an immense sense of satisfaction. The disgust and insults they threw at me in my past life were now all being poured onto Xi Zhao by Kui Yunyao, crushing his dignity into the dust and stripping him of all confidence. Go quick, push me away," he screamed and shouted, almost pleadingly, for his servants to push him out of the courtyard. They moved so fast that he even tumbled out of his wheelchair, landing in a pathetic mess. He hysterically tried to push himself up with his hands, but could only drag his 2 leg stumps, moving uglily across the ground. The timid commandery princess was so frightened by this horrifying scene that she even cried out, "Mother, I am scared." Zhe Zhao's body shuddered. His hands could no longer support him, and he collapsed heavily onto the ground. So when humiliating words were directed at him, he also found them too unbearable to endure. Then in my past life, when his family was casually humiliating me, how could he have said so indifferently? "It is just a few words. What can they do to you?" The servant boy who rushed over, only with the help of Mother Shi and Shi Xingyue, carried the wretched Xi Zhao out of the courtyard. If I am not mistaken, from his tightly shut, despairing eyes flowed 2 streams of humiliating tears. But the young princess consort Zheng had no intention of letting Kui Yunyao go. With a cold smile, her maidservant abruptly pushed open the door. "Seducing men right into my backyard. Didn't you bother to ask around, Miss Kui, just what kind of people the women of the Ning family are? The Ning family is a family of generals, and every one of them is fierce." Although Kui Yunyao hid under the desk when she heard the commotion outside, she was still dragged out by the princess consort's people. Pinned to the ground, she was slapped 20 times, from left and right. "You lowly thing, wasn't ruining the Xia family enough. You had to come and tarnish my husband's reputation too. You worthless thing, your death would be no loss." Kui Yanyao, her face swollen from the beating, was thrown back to the Kui family by the princess consort with a great fanfare of gongs and drums. Father's vision went black on the spot, and he almost vomited blood. Me.Legitimate mother clutched her handkerchief and questioned me fiercely. Why didn't you protect your older sister? You should have protected her reputation even if it meant sacrificing yourself. I lowered my head, my face full of grievance. Young Master Yu fell into the water, and I was already at a loss. How could I have known that older sister had gone to the prince's study? If I hadn't kneeled down and called for the princess, I am afraid older sister would have been beaten to death. Yu Mingyang drugged my pastry, intending to do something improper on the boat. If that happened, even if I married him, I could only be a concubine. Just a mere concubine. How could I manage all his philandering outside? But I didn't eat the pastry, and during the struggle, I seemingly unintentionally pushed him into the water. If he hadn't gotten his clothes wet from going into the water to get my handkerchief for me, and had to go change in the side room next to the study, how would everyone have had the chance, while visiting young Master Yu, to see the great drama unfolding in the study? At this, my legitimate mother truly spat out a mouthful of blood. Summoning the princess meant exposing Kui Yunyao's scandal right in front of the royal family. For Kui Yunyao to seek a good future in the capital now would be harder than ascending to heaven. And yet, the Shi family still sent the wedding proposal under these circumstances. The affection between us as childhood sweethearts, and the marriage contract we've had since we were little, the Qi family wouldn't refuse to acknowledge it, would they? A daughter who has lost her reputation and future prospects. If father weren't concerned about the Su family, he would have locked Kui Yanyao up on an estate long ago. Now that the Shi family was still willing to go through with the marriage, taking this hot potato off his hands, he couldn't have asked for more. Ignoring Kui Yanyao's wails and, for the first time, the matriarch's pleas, he agreed. Ji Zhao came personally in his wheelchair to deliver the betrothal gifts, in my legitimate elder sister's courtyard. His face was grim as he stared deathly at Kui Yanyao. A Yao for your feelings towards me. I am eternally grateful, and have naturally come to repay the favor with everything I have. He enunciated each word with extreme weight. His gloomy eyes were horrifying. Kui Yanyao bit her lip, and a line of fearful tears rolled down. A Zhao, it is all a misunderstanding. Someone else framed me. The sun and moon can bear witness to my feelings for you. She finally knew she had no way out, that Shi Zhao was her only choice. She accepted her fate, but it was too late. Shi Zhao extended his skin and bones hand and wiped her tears with a smile that wasn't a smile. There is no need to be so moved. We have a long time ahead of us, for you to slowly repay this kindness and love. Ji Zhao fed the cold pastries and tea from the table into Kui Yanyao's mouth, one bite at a time. Kui Yanyao was trembling, but she didn't dare to refuse, forcing it down mouthful by mouthful, just like the grievances she would have to swallow for the rest of her life. I stood under the fiery red sunset, staring fixedly at their retribution. Kui Yanyao still saw me outside the door. After Shi Zhao left, she came to my door, sneering at me resentfully. Do you think Yu Mingyang is any better than Shi Zhao? Don't think that marrying him makes you any nobler than me. That Yu Mingyang passed out on the top courtesan's belly last night and still hasn't woken up today. I bet you don't know that, right? At least, Shi Zhao loves and protects me, which is better than you living in constant fear, not knowing which day you'll become a widow. In both my past life and this one, she has always liked to treat me as an enemy. It is as if the worse my life went, the more it proved the success of her and her mother. Thinking about it now, it is a tragedy in its own right. The pleasure of succeeding against those of humble status only proves their own incompetence. I fiddled with the several boxes of fine jewelry sent by the Yu family, grinning from ear to ear. You've seen it for yourself. Apart from Yu Mingyang, everything else from the Yu family is 1 in 100. The old madam dotes on me. Madam Yu likes my well-behaved nature, and even Yu Mingyang praises me for being able to see the bigger picture by splurging a fortune to buy him the top courtesan, truly worthy of being the good matriarch his grandmother picked for him. Besides, how would Kui Yanyao know that when I enter the manor, in just a few days, my husband will get a promotion, get rich, and then die. And all that is left will be an endless stream of good fortune for me to enjoy. She stormed off in a huff and went around spreading the old news about how I used to be in love with Shejao. But Madame Yu held my hand, her heart aching terribly for me. Good child, this must have been so hard on you. I shook my head. I am only doing my part for young Master Yu. It is no trouble at all. Yu Mingyang had a stroke during sex and was lying in bed with his mouth twisted and eyes askew. Not only did I not break off the engagement, I even took the initiative to rush around with Mother Yu, seeking doctors and medicine for him. Winning my husband's heart is nothing. I am determined to win over the hearts of everyone in the Yu household. I put my heart into everything and was gentle and well-behaved. So naturally, no one would have thought that Yu Mingyang's death during sex was my doing. He had a preference for virgins, and regardless of their willingness, he would take them for his own. Who knows how many women whose reputations were ruined ended up hanging themselves, jumping into rivers, or even being strangled to death by their parents. I came for wealth and glory, so how he caroused in the red light districts with his money was none of my business. But to use his power to bully people and harm respectable women, that is a blood debt that must be paid in blood. In my past life when I studied medicine, I already knew that the city's divine Dr. Shui had only an empty reputation, a charlatan who deceived the world for fame, and that practicing fraud and treating human lives as worthless was nothing to him. In this life, I then used the evidence of him having treated people to death to force him to cooperate with me. Yu Mingyang's aphrodisiac for being full of vigor and vitality and not resting for a whole night, although it has miraculous effects, is extremely harmful to the body. Indulging in lust for over a month will hollow out the body. The top courtesan at Qingfeng Pavilion, because of the 1,000 gold I promised, kept him hooked night after night, so he wouldn't go home, and he finally collapsed on her bed. Divine Dr. Shui then took over this mess and started treating Yu Mingyang's body. The spirit he is barely holding on to will be snuffed out by stopping the medicine right after I marry in. You've been so attentive. Mingyang has gotten much better after all. I demurred obediently. It is because Auntie Yu loves her son so deeply. Your daily prayers moved heaven and earth, and that is what won the young master a chance at life. She was so pleased to hear it. She specially gave me a handful of silver notes to buy myself some nice things. I've already said it, in the Yu family, aside from Yu Mingyang being unpresentable, everything else is something a mere concubine's daughter like me could only wish for. I was beaming with joy, and when I looked up, I ran right into Xie Zhao. Shi Yi, why didn't you save me this time? Xie Zhao tilted up his haggard face, looking at me in agony. The unending sorrow and pain tangled in his eyes let me know that he had returned too. I had a dream, and in that dream, you saved me. Shi Yi, you were supposed to be in love with me. You were supposed to save me from this hell. Enough. I cut him off heartlessly. Didn't you look down on me saving you? So what are you regretting now? Don't tell me. You actually developed feelings while toying with me like a cat or a dog. My sarcasm made him tremble all over. That burnt face of his became even more hideous as he roared. It really is disgusting. Your loathing and their humiliation repeatedly reminded me not to get involved in others' karma. I did as told to escape the vortex of fate, and now you fault me for being cold. As expected, no matter what I do, it is always wrong. After all, what selfish people like you want is for others to sacrifice everything for you, with nothing in return. Right, you ugly freak. His dream was confirmed, and he broke down. You do love me. You could have saved me. Why didn't you do it? Why were you so cruel as to let me become this monstrous thing? Why? I kicked off the brake on his wheelchair, pressed my hand on the armrest, and said word by word, because all the suffering I went through, you deserve to taste every bit of it. When it didn't concern you, you were so nonchalant and high and mighty, feasting on my flesh and blood. Well then, let the fierce wind and torrential rain all fall on you. In his astonishment, with a gentle push, The wheelchair rolled down the ramp to the top of the stairs. Then, amidst the sound of a thud on the ground and a squeal like a stuck pig, Xie Zhao, who valued his dignity the most, fell face first into the dirt. On the street, there were numerous onlookers, whose laughter and disgust made Xie Zhao wish he could burrow into the ground. The heir's wheelchair isn't very good. Tomorrow I'll have someone build a more convenient one for you. I wasn't lying. A month later, I delivered the custom-made wheelchair to him. Look, it is hollowed out in the middle. When you want to relieve yourself, it won't be any trouble. You just need to undo your pants. You are going to be my brother-in-law eventually, so take this as a wedding gift. Xie Zhao felt humiliated, and using all the strength he could muster, he knocked over my wheelchair, then roared at me ceaselessly with tears and snot streaming down his face. I stood 30 feet away from him, and when he was tired and panting, I brushed my dress and sighed. I was just being kind. Even if you don't like it, you shouldn't ruin my kind intentions like this. His whole body stiffened. He remembered this sentence. That was what he had scolded me with when Kui Yanyao gave me a mask, and I threw it away. Now I returned it to him, word for word. It is better if you go out less from now on. With the way you look, it wouldn't be good to scare the children on the street. He was driven to a breakdown by the words I threw back at him. Are you blaming me for marrying a Yao? Shi, you obviously loved me the most. You were willing to give everything for me. Even when I was secretly meeting with your sister, you were willing to swallow your pride and be our shield. How did you become like this? Why did you? Because this dog you two were walking doesn't want to be walked anymore. Besides, you have your beloved a Yao, so why are you still thinking about me? My single sentence revived Xie Zhao's crumbling emotions. So, you are just jealous. You still love me, right? His eyes lit up, landing on me eagerly. As I turned to leave, he kept shouting, Shi Yi, don't go, answer me. I couldn't answer an idiot like that, but he put all the blame on Kui Yanyao. He came up with all sorts of ways to torture her. We were married off on the same day. The Yu family's sickly weakling, at least, was fed ginseng soup to welcome me. But the Xia family's crippled heir sent a rooster to marry Kui Yanyao. No matter how furious the legal mother was, she didn't dare to make a fuss when her own daughter ultimately fell into someone else's hands. On the wedding night, Yu Mingyang kept the divine doctor's instructions firmly in mind, cultivated his character, restrained his carnal desires, and after a bowl of calming soup early on, he fell onto the bed and couldn't get up. But Xie Zhao used the things my legal mother from my past life used against my concubine mother, against Kui Yanyao. The Xia family's maid, who died at their hands in my past life, became my inside informant in this life, and told Xie Zhao all about how my concubine mother was falsely accused of having an affair, was tormented by the legal mother for 3 days and 3 nights, and then beaten to death. Xie Zhao was fully convinced that Kui Shi still had old feelings for him, and only hated him for wronging her for Kui Yanyao's sake in their past life. He then thought that if he took his revenge out entirely on Kui Yanyao, I would forgive him. That night, miserable screams came continuously from the Xia family's bridal chamber. To this day, I still remember, through that ajar door, how my concubine mother was pinned to the floor, how those utterly humiliating and cruel torture instruments pierced her body, and how the bright red blood flowed from her lower body, covering the ground. Back then, the legal mother held Kui Yanyao and looked at me, who was scared stiff, with a smile. This is what happens when you are not obedient, Kui Shi, do you understand? I retracted all my thorns and grew up obediently in my grandmother's courtyard. Even when my only cat was skinned and its tendons pulled out, I could only grit my teeth and hide in an empty corner to weep. If I wanted to live, I had to be obedient. I had to learn to take whatever came my way and want for nothing. But Xie Zhao, he appeared right at that time. He would give me a copy of everything he gave my legal sister, even when he invited her out to admire the flowers or gaze at the moon. He would send me an invitation as well. Even when he gave Kui Yanyao a jade bracelet, he also gave me a gold hairpin. He said, Kui Shi is Kui Shi, and what belongs to Kui Shi, no one else can take away. Someone who has never been truly loved upon seeing a ball of fire from afar will think it is their own son, even if it is like a moth to a flame. They can't care about anything else. But in the end, it was nothing more than a big dog walking show he put on to make his beloved happy. Tears fell, and I wiped them away fiercely. Look, when one isn't seeking love, one gains an indomitable courage. In the entire capital city, who could be more at ease than me? The loyal maid nodded repeatedly. The heir apparent has gone mad now. I am afraid eldest Miss Quee's life will be difficult. If her life is difficult, and the D-mother's life is difficult, then my life will be much better. As basin after basin of bloody water was poured out, everyone in the She family also felt gratified. This was just the beginning. The third day visit home, because I promised that once he recovered, I would initiate all the maids by my side and give them to him. Yu Mingyang became especially attentive to me. A man who roams among the flowers is best at pleasing women. That tenderness, attentiveness, and meticulous care were like a red-hot branding iron, searing the eyes of Shi Zhao and Qianyao red. Qianyao was gaunt and haggard. Of her former pride and radiance, only the pitch-black under her eyes remained. Even when the Di mother touched her hand, she was so shocked her whole body trembled. Stepmother naturally noticed something was amiss, and using the excuse of a private chat, she took Qianyao and me to the backyard. I was left under a tree for a long time before Qianyao came out with red, swollen eyes. We stood side by side, and I asked in a voice only we could hear, "Big sister, are you not feeling well? Why are you walking so strangely? Could it be that the heir apparent was a bit too unrestrained on your wedding night? When it comes to being considerate to one's wife, the heir apparent could learn a thing or two from my husband. My husband, although he has a reputation as a playboy, truly spoils his wife rotten. At the U residence, I've never once been disciplined, and I've lost count of how many nourishing supplements from the palace have been sent to my courtyard. Even so, he still felt I was being wronged. Look, the family heirloom bracelet on my wrist is so heavy that I can't even lift my hand." I laughed flamboyantly, every word striking Qianyao's wounds. At night, Shi Zhao tormented her to no end, but during the day, Mother Shi would discipline her, making her stand for half a day. Just when she could rest, Shi Zhao's younger sister would come looking for trouble. She was in torment every day, suffering beyond words, and my happiness was like rubbing salt in her wounds, making her hate me to the point of gritting her teeth. Seeing her ashen face, I stroked the imperially bestowed hairpin in my hair and smiled brightly. So, whether one is the legitimate daughter or from a noble house, in the end, none of it can compare to one's fate. I am just destined for this life of wealth and honor, and no one can take it away. As if I didn't care at all, I flicked my sleeves and walked to the front, biting back her overwhelming hatred. Qianyao watched my back and shredded her handkerchief. Just as she had since we were children, the moment she saw me gain the slightest advantage, she'd want to destroy everything I had. After the meal, Father invited everyone to the tea room. Her chance came. Shi Zhao was pulled by Father to play chess, and with every word he groveled, begging the heir apparent to treat his precious daughter well, for the sake of their family's long-standing friendship. As for me, the daughter of a concubine, and Yu Mingyang, whom he looked down on, he didn't care at all. "You love your own husband," so amidst the fervent glances Xie Zhao kept throwing my way, Yu Mingyang and I had a great time by the lake, holding the same fishing rod. He was so weak, sweat constantly beaded on his forehead, and I gently and considerately wiped it dry for him. Unable to hold back, he planted a smack of a kiss on my flushed hot cheek. "Aunt, I am off the medicine tomorrow. Your husband will definitely dote on you properly. My dear Shi, your husband has waited so long and suffered so much." Though utterly disgusted, I still playfully pounded his chest with my little fists. "My husband is so mean, saying such humiliating things in broad daylight. I am not talking to you anymore." I made a move to leave, but he pulled me into his arms. "Be good. Just letting your husband have a sniff is good enough. I haven't touched a woman in 2 months. I am about to go crazy." Be good, come here. He pulled me into his arms and, burying his head, bit me on the neck. Immense pain spread, along with the smell of blood, but I clenched my jaw and went along with his perverted fetish. I even blushed and gave Kuiyunyao a provocative look. Seeing Kuiyunyao and Shi Zhao clenching their fists in hatred, I contentedly pushed Yu Mengyang away. If older sister is watching, she'll blame me for being improper. With his arms now empty, Yu Mengyang's good mood vanished, and he sarcastically shouted at Kuiyunyao. What is this nonsense about being proper? Failing to climb into the prince's bed, getting your clothes ripped off in public by the princess consort and beaten black and blue, is that what you call proper? All the color drained from Kuiyunyao's face. When she looked at the somber Shi Zhao, her body trembled like a sieve. After all, everyone knew that Kuiyunyao had been slapped by the princess consort and had her clothes stripped off. But the matter was tightly covered up by the princess, so Shi Zhao didn't necessarily know about it. Ayao, your husband is tired. Take me to your old boudoir to rest for a moment. Kuiyunyao's face turned pale, and she stammered in refusal. I'll have a maid push you over. After all, I still have to look after my younger sister and brother-in-law. She cast a pleading gaze towards me. I considerately shook my head. We're all family. There is no need to take care of us. Older sister, you should hurry and go. Yu Mengyang, who couldn't wait for Kuiyunyao to leave so he could get his hands on me, also chimed in. Hurry up and go. Your dilly-dallying has scared my fish. Shi Zhao swept his long arm out and pulled Kuiyunyao into his embrace. Kuiyunyao cried out repeatedly, her body trembling visibly. But Shi Zhao, biting her ear, sneered, What, you won't even listen to your husband anymore? Do you want me to punish you? Don't, then be a good girl and don't cause trouble for everyone. Her heart like dead ashes, Kuiyunyao was pushed away while in Shi Zhao's arms. Yu Mengyang clicked his tongue and shook his head. Although Prince Xia has lost 2 of his 3 legs, the remaining one is especially resilient and will soon display its prowess in broad daylight. Then, he cast his sticky, disgusting gaze on my chest. My good wife, husband. I delicately and softly took his outstretched hand. If you don't care about our future peace, then I'll do as you wish. In the end, he was afraid of harming his body, so he unhappily withdrew his hand and muttered under his breath. What is with the act of a chaste martyr? Once this old master's body is healed, I'll make you scream for your daddy and mommy. An hour later, a pale-faced Kuiyunyao and a satiated-looking Shi Zhao came out. Though she put on a nonchalant air, the specks of blood on Kuiyunyao's skirt still betrayed her. Over in that courtyard, a bucket of bloody water was poured out. Xiao Duzi whispered in my ear, and I understood. Young lord, you are very fortunate, but your body is frail after all. You should still take it easy. If you ruin your health, you'll have nothing left. Yu Mengyang's mockery didn't stir the slightest emotion in Shi Zhao. He just fixed his pair of deep eyes on me. Sister Shi, are you not concerned about my health? I wiped the beads of sweat from Yu Mengyang's forehead and replied casually, The young lord has your sister's care and love. My husband should not worry for nothing. Shi Zhao suddenly flew into a rage, fiercely throwing down his teacup and retreating back to the pavilion. Kuiyunyao saw everything, her gaze filled with hatred, always fixed on me. She already knew that Shi Zhao's unwillingness to let go was only because of me, so she blamed all her misfortune on me and wanted to perish together with me. Catching a glimpse of Kuiyunyao walking towards me, the corner of my mouth curved up. I knew the good show was about to start. She stood behind us without a sound, but when the servants were not looking, she reached out to push me, but I quickly pulled Yu Mengyang into my position. Amid the gasps, everyone saw Kuiyunyao push Yu Mengyang into the water, a spent arrow, unable to withstand a single blow. That is what they say about Yu Mengyang's hollowed-out body. Despite calling for the imperial physician, Yu Mengyang still passed away amidst the wails of his family. I didn't say a word until Yu Mengyang was placed in the coffin. Only then did I start ramming my head against it like a madwoman. Though I looked all bloody with a broken and bleeding head, in reality, I had controlled the force just right. There were external injuries, but they weren't life-threatening. After being unconscious for 2 days, I slowly came to. With my eyes welling up with tears, I confessed my remorse to everyone in the Yu family. Sister just hates me for getting a happy ending. I didn't deserve. She hates me, she blames me. It is because of me that my husband met with disaster. I deserve to die. You shouldn't have saved me. Let me join my husband on the road to the underworld, so we can be a loving couple again. As the words fell, torrents of tears followed. Seeing my look of utter despair, old Madame Yu and Madame Yu's last bit of resentment towards me vanished. Good child, you are not to blame. Having such a temperament is Ming Yang's good fortune. As for the Qi and Shi families, they must pay for this with blood. The Yu family gritted their teeth, determined to fight the Qi family to the bitter end. The Qi and Su families used their aristocratic connections to come to the Yu family to plead their case. But the Yu family was also an influential aristocratic family, not in the least inferior to the Su family. So how could they be afraid of the Kui family? Only the Xia family, because Consort Di was pregnant, and at the height of her favor, was untouchable. So, Hui Yunyao was confined to the Xi family's residence, not daring to show her face, just waiting for the lawsuit between the Kui and Yu families to end soon and grant her freedom. But Shi Jiao had already descended into madness, and would not let Kui Yunyao go. He kept thinking about that kiss Yu Ming Yang planted on Kui Shi's face by the lake. That kiss was like a demonic obsession, tormenting him day and night, giving him no peace. He went crazy, madly tormenting Kui Yunyao with ever-increasing intensity, even pressed a red-hot branding iron onto Kui Yunyao's face. You humiliated her. She scarred her face to save me. How dare you humiliate her? It is good that your face is ruined. Once it is ruined, I'll marry you off to the stable boy on the estate. That way, my debt to her will be paid, and she should forgive me. In the depths of Shi Jiao's bloodshot eyes, Kui Yunyao only saw a madness that wanted to skin her alive and swallow her whole. She remembered my words. With a cripple like him, she wouldn't have a single day of peace as long as he was alive. A woman's good fortune should lie in her husband getting promoted, getting rich and dying. I don't know where she found the courage, but she pulled out the hairpin from her hair and stabbed Shi Jiao in the throat, with it again and again, stabbing him to death. When the Xia family opened the door after dawn, all they found was a room full of blood and the cold body of Xia Jiao. Kui Yunyao was huddled under the covers, having already gone mad. It is him who wants to kill me. I was supposed to marry into a prestigious noble family, be a glorious matriarch, and live a triumphant life just like my mother. I want to be a matriarch. I want to marry an imperial relative. The Shi family collapsed, and Kui Yunyao was dragged into the great prison. With 2 lives on her hands, no one could save Kui Yunyao anymore. Her father was also demoted to the southwestern lands due to the joint impeachment by the Shi and Yu families, becoming a laughingstock in the capital. Overnight, he lost his beloved daughter and also his future prospects, his hair turning completely white. My primary mother also couldn't bear it, spat out a mouthful of blood, and became bedridden with a lingering illness. I am a filial daughter, so when they left the capital, I arranged for people to take care of them. With the care she received, my primary mother ended up bedridden with a lingering illness and could never get up again, being bullied daily and tormented constantly, never to find peace again. I won't let her die. I'll make her watch her daughter's head fall to the ground with her own eyes, then live out the rest of her life in agony with that lingering, painful memory, just like how she had people hold me down to witness Auntie's gruesome death, making me haunted by that inner demon for my entire life. Father, of course, will never achieve his ambitions, and plagued by illness, will waste away the rest of his life. In this life I ask for nothing more. I only wish to chant Buddhist prayers for my husband for a lifetime. I knelt and prayed every day at the Buddhist hall in the outskirts, acting all pure-hearted and desireless. But at night, it was wine, women, wealth, and worldly desires. Not a single one was missing, and yet my act was flawless, and everyone praised me. the daughter of the Kui family, for being so full of love and loyalty, with the dignity of a matriarch of a great family, and the inexhaustible wealth of an aristocratic household, leisurely watching the flowers bloom and fall outside the courtyard. How many in the capital could compare to a life like this? Until just before Lin Yuer's wedding, Mother Yu took me to the Lin family to add to her dowry. In this life, she married into a respectable scholarly family. Although not as wealthy as the Yu family, the man was gentle and considerate. Before they were even married, he was already extremely protective of Lin Yuer. The madams and young ladies of various families teased him. I bet he'll be a henpecked husband in the future. He blushed, and happiness spilled from the corners of his mouth. It is just that my love is too full. That is all. There is no fear, only doting. The wind was too strong. I shed a tear. Hiding in a deserted corner, I smiled brightly. Look, someone is happy too, aren't they? So, are you back too? I turned around abruptly. Behind me, Lin Yuer was holding the bracelet I had custom made, her face covered in tears. Only you know the style and design that I love the most. For a moment, I was speechless. The bracelet from my past life. I shouldn't have had an identical one made in this life. In that case, as the godmother, have you prepared my child's peace lock?